Welcome to the Nevada Room here at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office with Under Sheriff Jeffrey Clark. I'm Brian Samudio, Public Information Officer of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Good to see you, sir. How you been?
I'm doing great, and thanks for inviting me. Obviously, Sheriff Balaam is unavailable this afternoon, so I get to fill in, and it's a pleasure to be here.
It's funny to walk outside and it's that northern Nevada spring where suddenly we hit 70 and it feels like it's 105.
That's right. Blue skies, and the spring is upon us. Thank goodness.
April is Autism Awareness Month, and this is a very special month for us, and it's dear and near and dear to the hearts of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, and that's what our topic is this week on Did You Know is Autism Awareness Month, and ultimately it is. We'll throw out a shout out to donation month as well, organ donor month as well. But we're going to talk this session about autism awareness, kind of what we do here at the Sheriff's Office. It's I would say the majority of the population is affected by autism in some way, shape, or form, because it is everywhere, right? You either have a family member that is affected by autism, or you know somebody that's affected by autism.
The numbers are astounding, and I remember covering this a long time ago. We'll get to that in a second, but the numbers really, Under Sheriff Clark, are amazing when you really dig into them.
They are. 1 in 36 children have autism or suffer from autism. And in preparing for this, I learned stuff that I didn't know, that boys are more susceptible to autism than girls are. And that's interesting to me.
I covered the state legislature in 2009 in my former career. You may know what I used to do, working in television. And AB 162 was introduced, Assembly Bill 162, and that was to effectively try and mandate insurance companies to cover autism coverage. And I had no idea how expensive it is for the treatment of a child that has autism.
Yeah, and there's no federal mandates for any type of care as a child gets into adulthood. So it's upon the parents, right, to take care of those kids. And, you know, some stats for the autism spectrum disorder, family spends around $60,000 a year to take care of a child with autism. You know, the other thing that was really interesting that I wanted to cover, because it kind of blew me away, is that autism is the fastest growing disorder right now in the world. And it is more common than childhood cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined.
Wow.
Autism is.
Well, let's get to the experts. I think it's a good time to introduce our guests and people that really have been affected by this and are really helping in our community. Down on the end, Janice Zepmeisel, special education teacher at Cold Springs Middle School. We're also going to talk about her basketball team, who are all autistic athletes and a championship, basically. I mean, these guys are winners. They're serious about this. It's no joke. And then Deputy Bailey Henderson, and Deputy Henderson has 3 siblings that are autistic, and get some of your experiences. Bailey, let's start with you. Growing up, you're a Northern Nevada girl. You went to Fernley High School.
I did.
Go Vaqueros. Growing up in a house where it was just a little different. There was nothing bad about it. It was just different. What was it like growing up having siblings that were autistic?
It's a little bit harder for sure. It's not, like you said, anything negative by any means. Just have to do things in a little bit of a different way. They need a little more help than others. They require more services, things like through school and whatnot, and things are a little more focused on them. But overall, it was good. No complaints. My parents were really great, really supportive. They did so many things, making sure that they were good. They went to all the classes they needed. They've been in school since they were 2-3 years old, getting speech, physical therapy, occupational therapy to get them where they are today.
Yeah, you know her dad very well.
So I was going to say that, Bailey, right? You come from a law enforcement family, if you will, and that's part of the reason that this is such an important topic for us to discuss and make people aware of, is because we have several members of the Sheriff's Office and within the law enforcement community that are affected with autism, and it does affect how we answer calls for service when we're dealing with children and even adults with autism. Can you talk a little bit about some of the issues that you and your family and your parents went through over the years when there were, difficult times of behavior and things like that, learning how to deal with some of those behaviors.
Oh, for sure. They definitely go through their waves of behavioral stuff. They are quick to react very aggressively because they are unable to express their emotions with words. So they lash out physically, whether it's hitting, yelling, just throwing a temper tantrum of sorts. But it's something that we all work through, and we understand that you just have to be a little more patient, not taking everything that they do personally because they're just trying to get it out in a way that the only way that they know how. But it just builds a lot of patience, and I feel like that having my siblings over the years and going through their different ebbs and flows and things like that has made me better at being able to work, especially with the mental health population, which I enjoy far more than anything else that I do here, and engaging with those type of inmates and being able to assist them in the best way possible, and taking that time to really get to what they need and getting them to come down to a level that's manageable for us.
Well, and I can tell you, Bailey, you have an impact, whether you know it or not, on other deputies, because you've dealt with it firsthand. And something that we've really been pushing hard in training is teaching our deputies about compassion and the way we treat people with not only autism but mental health disorders. And sometimes you have to talk softer. Sometimes you have to come down to their level. And it's important for officers to understand that, so that they don't escalate situations instead of, handle them.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes with some of them don't like touch or engaging with them and immediately going hands-on when they're being somewhat combative or they're pulling away and things like that can only make it worse in some situations. And just knowing to take that step back and try to engage with them more so on their level of stability versus just going at them like we would a normal uncooperative.
Janice Zepp-Meisel joining us from Cold Springs Middle School, special education teacher out there, coach. Tell me about the teaching side of this first. Tell me about your kids.
So like you said, I teach at Cold Springs Middle School, and my students are 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And similar to autism, we have a spectrum of needs in my classroom. So I have some kids who are highly impacted, who are classified as nonverbal and use more behavioral, like she said, outbursts to communicate. And then I have students who push into general education for almost all day, and they just need a little social support. So we kind of have, just like with autism being a spectrum disorder, I have the spectrum across my classroom. So
this is for both of you. First, you, Janice. I discovered during my research that individuals with autism can have special talents, like love to sing, love to dance, and it's an outlet. You first, and then Bailey, if you can tell me about your siblings, what they love to do. What do you see?
So I have met kids who have like absolute perfect pitch. So they won't talk, they won't have communication skills, but if you put on a song, they can immediately, instantaneously on key mimic that song.
It's amazing.
They can play instruments and pick it up quickly. Instruments where they learn how to play, where a normal person, it would take them months, they'll pick it up in a couple of weeks. So art-wise, I have met a couple of students that can, from memory, draw an entire cast of cartoon characters in absolute perfect proportion and ratio. So, I've seen a lot of it.
Debbie?
For sure. My siblings are kind of all over the spectrum, like she said. I have my older of the three, Madison. She's very musically inclined. She loves movies. She loves telling jokes. She can quote things like out of nowhere perfectly, and it's amazing, and she's always trying to be funny. Grace is super good with numbers. She can remember birth dates, ages, everything like that. Everything to her is very hard line. There's a lack of abstract capability, though. So if she can see it, she can remember it. Reading was a little hard for her because her having to sound out words and have that abstract course of thought was very hard for her. But if you told her, hey, this word is because, she'd immediately put it into her bank and she'd remember it forever.
Yeah.
And then my little brother, he's a little more all over the place. He likes art, doing sculptures. He's really into like building Legos and puzzles and things like that. But he doesn't like to talk about it.
Understand. Janice, before we let you guys go ahead, sir.
Well, I was just going to say, so it's really important when you're dealing with children and adults with autism to kind of find out what's important to them and how they tick, right? And so in law enforcement, we are always trying to read people's actions and behaviors. But with with people that suffer from autism, you have to learn those things of they don't like to be touched, or you have to talk very softly with them, right?
Janice, before we let you guys go, I would be remiss to not highlight this basketball team. Tell me about your team and what did you guys just accomplish?
Yeah, we're pretty excited. So my classroom of students participates in Special Olympics. And just recently we had our county-wide basketball championship. So we went to the semifinals, which was held at our school. And we kind of made it a big deal. All 700 of our students attended that basketball game.
Nice.
And we set it up where there was cheering on both sides. And it's kind of cool because the kids really get into it. We make sure that everybody gets to participate. Everybody gets to play. And we won at the semifinals. And then we got to go to the finals down at the Sports Dome. And yeah, we ended up winning. The kids just loved it. It was an amazing experience. And we had some of the parents attend, and I had a mom come up to me afterwards and just was crying. She was in tears and she's like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just can't thank you enough. And seeing the connection between the kids in gen ed and then the students in my classroom is really awesome because that brought them together.
Yeah.
And they'll have conversations as they're walking down the hallway that they weren't having prior because they didn't know each other. And now we've seemed to open this door of communication and inclusion that's been really awesome.
How can people get resources? If they're looking to, if somebody's watching and goes, I want to be a part of that, how can they volunteer, get resources?
So if they want to volunteer or donate, they can go to the Special Olympics homepage. There should be a link, and anything. They will take donations, time. If there's maybe you have a particular service that you guys might be an expert in, they absolutely love that. Like if somebody steps in, I know we have several people from UNR football who actually volunteer and coach. So they focus on like the football, and yeah, we try to put experts where they fit well.
I just came up with a really good idea. You know, we have a pretty good sheriff's office basketball team, and it might be a really good benefit to get them playing your team and raising some money for autism
I like
awareness.
that idea.
That's a great idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that
We'll
idea
put
a
that
lot.
We got to put that together.
They would
be
love
fun.
that.
The
And
Comrade team's all here. So
I'm
you
not
guys
gonna
all heard
lie,
it.
My
We're going to get on that.
My kids are pretty good. I'm going to tell you, we had a couple of them that the coaches for the regular basketball team at our school was like, hey, we should talk about scouting him. I mean, he just, everything you handed him, he sank it every single time.
That is great.
And I had no idea. We had no idea that he could play like that and that he enjoyed it. So this kind of opened up an opportunity, but I will absolutely take you up on that.
Let's
offer.
do it.
We
Let's
will
do
look
it.
at getting that set up.
Janice, thank you so much for not just being here, but for what you do for our community. It truly is appreciated, and it's the boots on the ground, hard work, and we need more people like you.
Yes.
Deputy Henderson,
thanks.
thank you so much for being open about this and just kind of giving us a little insight.
For sure.
Thank you
Appreciate
both very much.
Thank you very
We
much.
appreciate the time.
You know, before we go,
Yeah.
Brian, there's a couple more things that I just want us to hit on a little bit, because this is kind of teaching our viewers, right, a little bit more about autism too. It was interesting to me that there's no way to test for autism in blood tests.
Right.
And the other thing is that it's very still unknown as to what affects a child before birth of having autism.
Yeah.
Because it's not anything that the mother or the parents do
No.
before, during, or after pregnancy.
Mhm.
They know that. So, any type of donations and things to our nonprofits here locally for autism and research is vitally important.
You talked about $60,000 a year. That adds up to roughly between $1.4 and $2.4 million over a lifetime. But the cost of lifelong care can actually be reduced by 2/3 with an early diagnosis and intervention. So obviously something that's dear to our hearts here at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, and we want to spread awareness. And to kind of stay on the Special Olympics kick there too, we are going to bring in another special guest, Joining us from the lake, Sergeant Joseph Colacurcio. And Cola, polar plunge, we couldn't do it because of too much snow, and now it's melting. We rescheduled it.
We rescheduled it. Excuse me. May 13th, 2023 at 9 in the morning, Round Hill Pines up there in Zephyr Cove. I, myself, and a few of the others from the Sheriff's Office will be jumping in Lake Tahoe.
Have you ever done a polar plunge?
I have not, but I think I'm going to get talked into doing the one this year. Interesting, and thank you for coming, Sergeant Colacurcio. But you are our representative for the Washoe County Sheriff's Office for Special Olympics, and Janice talked about her students and being part of Special Olympics. How do you tell us a little bit about Northern Nevada Special Olympics and what you do as the Washoe County Sheriff's Office representative?
So as a Washoe County Sheriff's Office representative, we're very involved with the Special Olympics, obviously. So we go out and we do all different events, the polar plunge, tip a cop, the law enforcement torch run, which is actually happening on May 19th this year at the Sparks Marina. And if you're interested in that, you can look at it's letr.org. That's the law enforcement main page. But if you go to sonv.org, there's a link on there. So if you're interested in joining, there's plenty of information on that. But my main role is to get out in the community, bring awareness to all the athletes through Special Olympics, and help them raise money so that the athletes and the families aren't burdened by any of the financial costs, so that the athletes get all that ability to get medical care, physical care, any of those things on top of athletics through Special Olympics.
Sergeant Colacurcio, what has this done for you getting involved in this? We were at the Special Olympics bowling tournament. What agency won that? Oh yeah, that was us.
We did. We did.
Humble brag, but and I wasn't on the team. Trust me, we wouldn't have won if I was rolling. But what has it done for you? What do you get out of it?
So one of the things that I get out of it for the community is in law enforcement, it's a great way for us and me personally to give back to the community. So being involved with Special Olympics and being involved with the other agencies, Reno, Sparks, school police is coming on board to help us out. It's just something that gives us an outlet besides the job. So we get out to actually truly go out. We get to work with these athletes. They help us. We help them. And it's just one of these great things that you get to do for the community.
Well, I'll tell you, many of you in the community have seen or heard of Sergeant Joe Colacurcio, and you'll see him for years to come because he is going to be a future leader here. But I can tell you, Joe, on behalf of the sheriff and our entire organization, you do a phenomenal job, and I can't thank you enough for everything you do.
Well, I appreciate that, and it goes without saying that the support from the administration here is what really gives me the ability to go out into the community and to really spread the message. And spreading the message of the Special Olympics, in my opinion, is a great thing. So I can't say enough, but thank you.
Cola, thanks for being here, buddy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Switching it up to if summer months are now starting, and as we wrap up this edition of Did You Know, you got to be aware now of once we hit summertime, those kids are going to be out on the streets, and there's a lot of things that are now everybody's going to be getting out and about. So a few things we need to start thinking about down the line about topics for Did You Know?
That's right. That's right. The one topic I would say that we cover every year, and this is kind of a plug, is lock your doors. If you're going to hiking and out on the trails, make sure you lock your cars up. Don't allow computers and valuables to be seen from the outside, and let's really make an impact on vehicle burgs this summer.
Absolutely. It happens way too much at trailheads. We have such a great area to go hiking and go out, walk the dog, ride the horse, whatever you're going to do. Suja's birthday, your horse is coming up.
Yep.
But got an academy getting ready to graduate. Things are hopping right here at the Sheriff's Office.
That's right.
Hit that like button. Follow us on Washoe Sheriff, at Washoe Sheriff, on all of our social media platforms. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, of course, right here on Facebook. And for Under Sheriff Jeffrey Clark, I'm Brian Samudio. We'll see you next time right here on Did You Know?